season? Are we going to see that come into play more, or is that going on the back burner?
Well, I think it's informed how he feels about things. It's not so much playing out on the screen in terms of actually recent action, because we've sort of seemingly closed into that. However, we effectively haven't. In the presence of Raish, who is kind of behind the Court of Owls on the level. Raish is very much in season 4, so we'll be dealing with the practical sort of implications of that. But in terms of the emotional stuff, I think Jim more fully understanding who his father really was, who his uncle really was, and his relationship to them further deepens and makes more complex his relationship to justice in Gotham, how that's achieved, how that's maintained, and law and order.
So why can Jim never make it work with a woman?
Well, Jim can't make it work with a woman for the same reason that no one can make it work with anyone in a relationship in Gotham, which is that we're telling a story of true sort of a tragedy of darkness and sort of moral depravity all around us. But Jim will seek out new relationships and will explore those.
Will spiral just as hard as the rest of them?
Maybe not virus hard, but yeah, there's levels. I think that one of the delicate balances of the show is it is a dark world. It's the world of Batman in terms of its tone, but we do want to keep some hope alive, some glimmer of much humanity, whether it's the villains being sort of empathetic on some level, or being able to understand their human motivations, or the heroes failing and succeeding and failing again. That applies throughout, whether we're talking about sort of the power struggles or the relationships. Power struggles and relationships.
Yeah. He also has a really interesting relationship with Penguin, and it's sort of like a cat and mouse, like they dance around each other a lot. Maybe Penguin enjoys the game a little bit more than Jim does, but what is your take on Jim's feelings towards this whole dynamic? Because he doesn't exactly try to make you to just take him out and end what's going on between them either.
Yeah, I think Jim, particularly at this point in the series, much more fully understands his limitations and what he's capable of doing and what he's not. And whereas he would have just charged straight at Oswald initially and tried to crush him, particularly when Oswald was much weaker, now that's not really an opportunity, that's not really a viable option. So instead, he seeks out new alliances, and in this case, in season 4, it's with Sophia Falcone, daughter of Carmine Falcone, who will become prominent in the future. As far as what? Right. Well, that's what, when we open up season 4, there is no procedure left because Penguin has created this Pax Penguina where he's completely co-opted the police department. So as bad as they were, they're even worse now, where they don't even do anything. They literally just sit there and take the money from Penguin, and Penguin issues these licenses which permit crime up to a certain level. And so Jim is the only one, holding those wolves at bay, or trying to impose some sort of order. But because he's so helpless, he'll have to seek out these new alliances. So he's never going to return to the wet behind the ears Boy Scout kind of version, if he ever was in season 1, because he's learned too much, he knows too much, and the city's fallen too far for that to be a realistic option. But as a hero, he will always try to do what is right, even if, as he learns how to do that, is to do worse, if that makes sense. You have to do a lot of little bad things, increasingly bad things, to do good.
So you're the lead actor in the series. You've directed an episode. You've written an episode. I would imagine that makes you feel a little more invested working than maybe other things you've done in the past. How would you compare your experience working in an environment where you get to contribute this much as opposed to maybe some of the other things you've done in the past where you weren't as invested?
Well, I'm always invested, deeply invested as an actor, and now I have the opportunity, thanks to the producers and their generosity, to direct and to write, as you said, and that does. I mean, I'm invested regardless, but it changes the it changes the. It changes the experience in good ways and makes it even more fully rounded. And now that I've been on all sides of the show, from the writer's room where we initially conceive collectively the storylines for the season, to shooting the show, which I've been doing for a long time, prepping, shooting it, to filming it and being a director and going all throughout prep, production, and post, you see it as a fully rounded thing, which in all its glory and all of its non-glory, it's like there's probably three things you don't want to see made, right? Like politics, sausage, and network television, but or in television Vidicon. But I've learned an enormous amount, and I'm very grateful for that. And I couldn't ask to work with better
Will we
people.
see you writing or directing more in the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's a practical limitation as to how much I can do it based on, actor too. But I'm hopeful to write one a year and direct one a year at a minimum moving forward. And if they let me do that, I'm happy.
Very cool.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for your time.